Hey everybody, I'm Aaryn Lang. Welcome to
We gonna take it, 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 gonna take it to the top. I'm gonna take it to the top.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Miss Lang Presents. I'm Aaryn Lang, of course, and today I have the most special guest, my dear, beautiful mother, Donna Lang. Please introduce yourself, Mama.
Well, hi, everyone. As Aaryn said, I am her mother. I'm Donna Lang. I'm a therapist. I'm a Black woman, and I am blessed.
I was thinking of ways to, kind of make this conversation be a little more structured. And then I realized I actually don't really care about that. I would love for us to just, go where the conversation takes us. And before we do that, I would love actually for you to tell us a little bit more about your therapy practice. What's it called? What type of people do you serve?
Oh, wonderful. I would be happy to. My therapy practice is called Get Centered Wellness because I'm about holistic wellness and healing. And so it's built on the idea that to be a whole, healthy person, mind, body, and spirit has to be involved in your healing. I'm a trauma therapist, EMDR trained. I do somatic healing as well because what I know and what I've come to learn as I've been practicing is that most things are stored in our body and our cells and the cells of our body. And so the healing has to be at that level also. And who I serve is everyone, really, anyone who has suffered because at the root of all mental health issues is trauma. And so I serve everybody. I have a special focus on women. But absolutely everybody is welcome.
And how long have you been practicing therapy?
This year will be my 11th year.
Oh, wow.
Practice 2 years now, but I've been in the field of mental health and addiction recovery for 11 years.
What is one lesson that you would say you've learned about everyone? So, from all the patients you've seen, what's one lesson that you feel you've learned about all of them?
I think I'm probably going to reiterate this, that trauma is at the root of all dis-ease.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people, when they hear the word trauma, they think that they had to have this life-shattering thing happen, sexual abuse, physical abuse. But trauma is anything that leaves a scar on the spirit, a scar on the soul. So anything that has happened that has done that, and it could be for one person, it could be sexual abuse, but for another person, it could be I was the middle child and I didn't get enough attention, right? And so that absolutely influences the way that we move around in the world, and how we are in relationships with other people. So I think that would be the one thing that I find consistent. It looks different, but it's consistent among all the people that I work with.
So I want to take it back a little bit. I'm curious because we're in a time where we are seeing, I keep asking everyone I talk to, we are seeing great uprising, not only in the United States, but all over the globe. And in the midst of these uprisings, many different things are percolating to the top. And one is obviously anti Blackness and white supremacy. But something that hits even closer to home for you and I is the murders of Black trans women. And what we've seen, I would say, in these past couple weeks is that the Black community, seemingly at large, does not know how to hold both of these things at the same time. Do you think you could speak to a little bit of why it's so difficult for the cis Black community to acknowledge Black trans women as also casualties of white supremacy and anti-Black violence.
It's so, that's interesting because I can't remember, I was on someone's Instagram and they posted the rally in Brooklyn. And there were so many, Black people on the thread talking about splitting the issue. And when we say Black lives, don't we mean all lives? And, and that kind of narrative. But I've thought about that too. And what I think could be happening is that we have been, as Black people, we have been so ostracized and so marginalized. And I think a lot of times the tendency is to find someone more marginalized than ourselves to put our foot on their neck, so to speak, right? So as a Black community, who's more marginalized in the Black community than the Black trans woman, right? And so I think there is this energy toward finding someone to victimize when you're a victim. And I think some of that might be at play. And the other thing that happens, we can now point a finger at someone other than us, right? We can point a finger because then that makes us feel like we're not the least of, you know? There is still someone less than. You guys can, point these people out. And there's always also been in the Black community division, where we are, because we're so hurt, we are so traumatized at the cellular level, there's always this idea that we need to find someone else to victimize. And so I think there's so many levels, to that. And of course we know that until we recognize everyone, and I won't say equally because that doesn't really fit, but until we acknowledge that this is also a problem, but we got to look at a bigger picture, because a lot of times Black trans women are being killed at the hands of Black men, and so no one really wants to look at that or talk about that either. That's super uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like oftentimes the narrative is that Black trans women are deceitful and we are out here, tricking men into our beds and then revealing, our true selves to them. And I feel that it's very difficult for, with that narrative being so prevalent, that it's very difficult for people, some members of the cis Black community, to hold that these men aren't killing us out of trickery and delusion, that they're actually, it's more so like I want to clean the carpet before mom gets home, or
Fear.
I want to obliterate this part of me through you. And I agree that those are really difficult things to hold. And what I really want us to be able to talk about today, I want to know more about your own journey, because as we both know, this is a place that you had to arrive at. And where I'm curious about, what are the conditions that would contribute to a Black cis woman seeing a Black trans woman as, I don't want to say a threat, because I think that creates a very weird pitting against each other. But what is it that would cause a Black cis woman not to see herself in a Black trans woman? Could you speak a little bit to your own journey with that?
I could attempt to. Sure.
Okay.
I could attempt.
That's all I ask.
You say the pitting against, and I don't want to feed that either. But I do want to say, just as Black women, you know, just as Black women, this is old adage, you know what I mean? There always seems to be scarcity in our energy. And whenever there's scarcity in energy, there is the idea that there's not enough for me. And so if there's not enough for me, I have to make sure that I protect it at whatever cost. And so, you know, there's always this thing that, you know, there are not enough Black men for Black women, right? And so then we add on, you know, non-Black women, right? Then we add on trans women, right? And so there is this big, there's this battle, you know? And so if I don't acknowledge your womanhood, if I belittle and other you, then hopefully what that will do is make the men who would love you and be attracted to you ashamed to do so publicly. And somewhere, you know, in your mind, in your irrational thinking, it makes you feel like then there are more for me. Scarcity plays a large part in it. And then we also have to look at, we can't leave out this fact that for most of the world, Black women are the least attractive. That's what is being said, right? What's being said is that we are the least attractive. And so then you add to that narrative, there are more women, more attractive, or we see as just as attractive. And so then there's that scarcity piece. You know, you have to, I hate to do this, but we have to pull the church in also. You know, we have to pull religion in too, because so many of us are operating out of that belief system, you know, and so it doesn't even allow, not only does it allow us to see and acknowledge Black trans women as Black women, you know, sometimes it doesn't even allow us to see, you know, our sisters who are hurting in the streets as you know, Black women. You know, we're so busy trying to get to heaven, we stepping on heads and necks to get there. You know? Listen, it's hard being a Black woman. It's extremely hard. You know what I mean? And so, you know, what we want to do is, you know, hold each other accountable, but we also want to do it with, you know, empathy and compassion, because the truth is this stuff is in our body, it's in our genes, it's in our skin, it's in our, you know what I mean? It's at the body level, it's at the genetic level, you know, and we're operating sometimes without even recognizing, you know, what we're doing.
Yeah, I completely. Is that the short one? You know, I often say that Black people are so preoccupied with auditioning to be human beings.
Oh, God.
And because we're so preoccupied with auditioning to be human beings, we don't have time for anything that could potentially stop us from being granted humanity, you know?
Oh my gosh. That's
so I had to myself, I even had to shift, you know, I was talking to a few of the girls a couple weeks ago, like, I have to shift my approach to Black cis people because I know something that they all don't. And it's interesting because I know the conversations we have, we don't often talk about trans people as kind of these truth bringers, you know, that we exist to kind of, we exist almost as a counter narrative to what we have been told about the lives and the world that we live in. And
it's so powerful though. It's so, you know, that Black people are auditioning to be human beings. That right there, Ah,
Always, but always,
that hit me somewhere deep, though. That hit me somewhere.
I think about Black people who may have trans kids
Mm-hmm.
that they don't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, what could you say as a mother to a trans woman, a Black trans woman? Well, of course I'm Black, we're Black, but what could you say knowing that you had the dreams of a son? What could you say to a mother who is so deeply distraught and distressed by the fact that she might be or is raising a trans child that maybe you would have needed to hear even? What would you say to you when you were young?
Well, you know, this we didn't get here easily. We didn't get here easily, but you know, I'm you know, thank the universe we got here. You know, I've been a single mother, you know, always, never any support or help. You know, you and me and Ash, we've had these conversations, but you know, it was just white knuckle fear for me, you know, raising the two of you. So always, you know, the first thought for me was safety. Like I need to keep them safe and not always feeling equipped to do that. I was young, a very young mother. I didn't want any ruffles. I didn't want any, I didn't want any bricks in the road. I just wanted to get through it. And so you came and presented a bump in the road. Of this very carefully laid out, you know, I just want them to survive plans that I had. And so just like everything else, you know, that we bristle at, or we get angry about, or we defend, at the base of all of that is always fear. It's always fear. And so I guess, you know, my advice would be, you know, and I've come to this and I say this, I say this to parents. I say this not just to parents who have, you know, trans children, but just to parents, you know, let them be who they're going to be. Because you can't stop it. You can only delay it with your nonsense. You know what I mean? You can only delay it. You can only cause heartache. You can only cause them to feel a way about themselves that they will not grow into people who love themselves, and people who don't love themselves do things, you know, that are not healthy for them. So I say that to all parents, right? But I was so afraid, and I was trying to protect and control, and, you know, that even when I saw, you know, things, I didn't want to see them. Even when I saw things, I tried to make them not be what they were. You know, you and I have had that conversation, and I've apologized and we've cried, and, you know, we've done all that. But at the end of the day, you know, what I told you then was, if I knew that you could go out in this world and be safe and happy and no one would bother you because of who you are, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. But I was so afraid that someone was going to kill my child. You know, just so afraid of that. And fear, you know, will have you do things. And so, yeah, I didn't accept this. I mean, I wasn't years dealing with this, you know, I wasn't years of unacceptance, you know, but in the beginning, I just did not want this to be your life. I did not want you to have to live in fear. I didn't want you to have to, you know, watch where you went so people wouldn't hurt you. You know, we went around and around about your clothes.
Yeah.
Around and around, you know, please don't wear that, you know, please don't do that, you know, and then at night I can't sleep, you know, you don't answer the phone. My thing is, somebody's killed my child, somebody has murdered my baby. Thank God that you know, got to a place of acceptance with yourself, You know, because at the end of the day, for any and all of us, that's, so what I would say to them is just love your child. They don't need anything else. You know, the other thing is, you know, when kids are young, they need guidance, right? And they need some direction. But you're actually not raising kids, you're raising adults. And so you really have to think about and look at that. They are children for the least amount of time. So let them, because they know, you know, we know. We know. So let them know and support that knowing. You deal with your own stuff, because you being upset about that have nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. And like you said, what you thought something was going to be. And the other thing is what you think people will say. You think people will say, what did she do? Why is her child like that? How did she raise her? You know what I mean? And so you got to throw away all of that, because at the end of the day, just love that's it. That's it. Love them, watch what they go into. But at the end of the day, yeah, don't try to you can't make them be anything else. You know, you can't. You can just make them act a certain way until they leave your house. That's all you can do.
So a fear in these, in situations like this, you would say, is that it will reflect as a personal failure on you as a mother, that people would see me as a failure on your part.
Oh yeah. You know what did she let happen? Or, you know, because, you know, even back then for me wasn't full understanding, right? There wasn't full understanding. You know, yeah, I think at some point there was you know, that people would be looking at me, and my whole time as your mother, I am trying to make sure that you arrive safely into adulthood. You know, and then if you veer off the path of what I had come to learn was normal, right, and right, then I have done something. For me, it was a short-lived phase of, you know, what's going on. I moved straight into, oh my God, what's going to happen? You know, what is going to happen?
I'm hearing you talking, and I'm like, but this has to be the fear of the parents of Black children.
Period. Period. Yeah. Period.
That something is going to happen to us.
Period. But not, you know, yeah, period. But you know, it's funny though. I talk to a lot of like parents, and when I was raising you and Ash, the same thing, and people didn't seem to have the same kinds of fears that I had. You know, they allowed so much that I just wasn't gonna allow. You know, I've always been a reader. I've always been a studier. I've always been a researcher.
A scholar, honey. She's a scholar, everybody.
You know, I always had so much more information about what it meant to be in this skin, you know, than people that I was around. And so, you know, that was a good and a bad thing. I think it was good because I was able to, you know, translate some of that to you and Ash. But, you know, as far as feeling like you were safe in the world, well, yeah, no, not that.
That one might have been out of your hands.
Right, that part, no.
Right, that part.
That part.
I want to ask you before I close up shop. What offering do you have for Black women, all Black women? What offering do you have for us in these times?
I would say because for myself, having close relationships with other Black women have been it has been invaluable for me. I would say find women, I don't care where they come from, you know, I don't care. Trans Black women, Black girls, Black teens, Black folks, you know, that are not doing well, but stay united and connected, because you know we are all more alike than different, right? You know what happens to the least of us, you know, what happens to the least of us affects all of us. And so I think in these times, if you don't have some Black women that you are close to, because I hear that all the time, I'm just not close to women. You need to get close to some women. You need to get close to some women.
So sisterhood will save the day.
Sisterhood has always saved the day. It has saved the day for everybody, not just sisters.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. That part.
That part.
So, mommy, I love you so much.
You too.
And it is an absolute honor to be your daughter. And it is an absolute honor to be able to introduce you and your brilliance to the world. So I hope you are ready, and I hope the world is ready as well. I will see you sooner than later, and I love you so much again.
Okay, baby. Love you.
Bye.